guys, we will be waiting for around 2 minutes more and we will starting with the event. Great. So I think we are good to begin with the event. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all on the behalf of ACM CCET. Uh, yes, sir. Sure. Yes, sir. Sure. So shall we begin? So shall we begin? Okay, sir. Okay. Uh, uh, so first we will be talking about open source and what open source is actually and how we can contribute to it, why we should contribute to open source and all these stuff. And thereafter we will be talking about the GitHub community, the Hacktoberfest, and letting them complete the Hacktoberfest challenge. Uday is with us to complete, to let them complete, and for the hands-on session, basically Uday will be with us to get them the challenge completed. Yes, sure, sure, sure. Yes, sir, Maninder is looking forward to it. And sir, Maninder. Sure, sure, sure. By the time for the audience, you can go to www.menti.com, and for each and every slide, you can give your upvote, downvote, and stuff like that. So that's quite cool thing. You can go for it as well. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. He is. Yes, sir. So shall we proceed with the event? Sir? Maybe due to some internet connection. Internet issues, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes, definitely. Yes. Yes, sir, definitely. Yes. 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 free open source? Hmm. Yes, we can have a word with them. Yes. Mhm. Yes. Yes. So Def- Definitely, sir. Thanks a lot for your kind words to Sunil sir as well as Prashant sir. So moving on to today's session. Uh, Sir, basically, if you can tell us how the open source can help us in the banking sector, as you are in the banking sector, so how it can uh, uh, like help us in the banking sector, the open source development, or how it is helping us, if you can answer that question. Definitely. Hmm. Yes, from scratch. Definitely. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. 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 Thank you, sir. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. So, yes. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Thanks a lot. All right. So I once again welcome you all for this Hacktoberfest event. Let's collaborate together. So I am the speaker one of the day, and I'm Anshul Gupta, a web developer and a data science enthusiast. Presently, I'm basically into data analytics part and data visualization part, I would like to say. And besides these, I have proficiency in Python, Django, and minors being HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript, and text as well. Also, those who attended my previous session, they might be knowing that I am also an Alexa skill builder. Hope you also have developed something from that event, right? Uh, Apart from the technical part, people call me nerd sometimes, sometimes a geek, but I personally believe that I am just a simple individual who loves to learn new things and who loves to share those things with others as well. And so moving forward, the second speaker of the day we have with us is Uday Kumar Jangra. He's a competitive programmer, and you will be getting to know more about him in the second part of this session, right? So that was about our introduction. So coming forward to the today's agenda that we are here for. First, we will discuss what is open source, its introduction, what perspectives we can think of open source, and uh, basically I have classified it into three, so we will be getting to know more about it. Secondly, we will be discussing how we can contribute to open source, what steps do we need to follow, and why we should contribute, and where we should contribute to open source projects or stuffs like that. And of course, the Hacktoberfest event that we are here for, its background, its celebration, and we will discuss its rules, its perks that we are having. Uh, Thereafter, we will discuss about the GitHub community and how the GitHub communities have evolved to greater heights. I will discuss, and you might also be knowing some of those that have emerged as well. Right then, of course, the major portion that we are having today is of the demo part, which will be led forward by Uday in the second half, right? And showcase and discussion as well, where you can showcase your open source projects or any kind of projects that you have completed or made use of open source while doing that, and how you move forward through the collaboration part and all that stuff if you are into open source, right? Also, you can showcase here the demo part that you have done, so that would be great for us. Right, so let's begin with today's first topic. But before, let's read this beautiful quote that says, if you take out the team and teamwork to make that project successful, otherwise, in some or the other stage, it's going to collapse, right? Topic of the day, that is, what is open source? So coming over to open source, I have three perspectives that I said before. First one was the source code perspective. So from the source code perspective, you see it's a totally open. When we talk about open source, as Prashant said, it's totally free and completely available to anyone in this world. We say changes you can make to it, and of course uh, you can to the programmer's perspective, or might not contribute to open source. And the thing here is, you don't need to start from scratch. You have the stuff already present there. Of course, if it's your own project, you have to start it somewhere. But if you're working on some open source project, then you don't need to look for start. You have, or you already have the thing set up, right? And you just need to look for it. And the third one was the end user perspective. So as far as the end user is concerned, in my opinion, that it doesn't make much difference to the end user, because he or she is just going to use your application or software, right? He or she is not going to see your code. He's just the final user, right? So it's majorly the open source that is helping is the programmer's perspective, that you have already the stuff that you need to do, and you make changes, you make enhancements to it. And of course, from the original source code, that is, you can build something great, right? So that was what is open source, a brief introduction about open source this was. So now the question arises, why contribute to open source? The first point here being the developer's view. As I said, we as a developer, we look for things that are we don't look to start from scratch, right? We look for things that are already done in our uh, say domain, right? And go for its better contributing to open source. So you don't need to start from scratch, and you have everything set up. That is mostly important for the developer's view, that you can go forward. The things are already present. Second is the wide variation. Community, any other data analytics, data visualization, all these things. Uh, Not only this, also content writing and more of this. Uday will also let you know. And so there's no limitation on anything, that you need to work on this programming language. You need to work on this. It's your interest that you need to choose, that where you want to go in the next field, right? Third one is the helpful community, and the helpful and the big community that we have. When we talk about open source, it's I will show you the next slide, how people contributed to open source, so, and how big the community is, to and of learned individuals who are ready to help and give you something out of it, right? So before going to the industry, you already have that experience. When you're already before going to the industry, for the betterment for the community as well as the industry, right? So you are getting something at uh, before the before going to the industry, right? So that is quite good, and in a very easy manner you're getting it. The last one being the security and bugs. It's quite controversial, because when we say it is a publicly accessible, right? It is open to all. So it is quite controversial that we say we need to contribute to remove the security and bugs. So as the hackers increase, these are much in number when we talk about the open source community. So that is the points why we should contribute to open source. Coming over to this Kubernetes project. Kubernetes is basically an open source system that provides uh, containerized management of containerized applications, where we're also providing for management, deployment, and stuff like that. So you see the unknown portion over here. It's covering around the major portion up, after Google over here, right? So you see the contributions that the open source society that have made is quite uh, in a good number and have almost being equal to the other ones as well. So that's a quite big community that I was talking about, quite a helpful community that I was talking about, right? So moving forward to how to contribute, what steps do we need to take, what we should do, how to get started with the contributions, may it be any platform of open source, right? So first one is the domain knowledge. We need to identify in which field we need to work on, right? In which domain we need to work upon, or look for the projects in that programming language. So you need to identify in which field you want to work upon, and then look for good projects in that field, right? Second, look for bugs and issues. Before this, the domain knowledge and the projects that are important over here. Secondly, of course, if it's your own project, I'm going to talk about it in the next few minutes. And then suppose you identified the domain knowledge or your interest where you're having, then you look for its issues and its bugs, or the projects that is having, right? To start with, you can look for its issues and bugs, and later on you can go for its enhancements as well that you can do to the project. Third one is look for the community guidelines. One important point over here is about the community guidelines that I want to mention. That your contribution should be up to the level of the set guidelines that I guess Uday will also talk about these in the practical session as well, that your contribution should be good enough to be recognized, right? So it need not to be something you changed, a very minute change, right? It won't be acceptable when you are contributing to a good organization, right? So their coding style, their formatting, everything matters, right? So you can contribute, and there are contributor argue agreements as well, right? That you need to see before making a good contribution to the open source, right? So get familiar with their code. As I said, get familiar with their community guidelines, get familiar with their code base, how the things are working over there. These are the steps you need to follow. These are not the, right? So you can start with your own project. Suppose you have something in your mind, you start with it. And what open source can help you with this, to overcome those difficulties that you're facing while developing a project, right? That big community can help you, giving more towards your will only be accepted if, right, as they will reject this and might not accept it later as well. So these all the things you need to focus upon before going to contribute, or before going to see that I'm going to work on this field and these are the issues, right? So now comes where we need to contribute. So these are the certain platforms. GitHub in the first amongst them. Second is GitLab. For these are the close competitors. GitHub being on the top because of its uh, uh, features or its ease of use, I would say. So we will discuss about GitHub more in the next session, in the next slides, I would say. And of course, the thing we are here for, the Hacktoberfest. So let me give you a brief about the Hacktoberfest event that we have uh, every year, and it is hosted by DigitalOcean and Dev2, and this time Intel also. And anyone from the global community can contribute to it, and GitHub is the platform that they have set up, right? So this is basically to uplift the uh, open source contributions and open source softwares that we say, right? So this is about the Hacktoberfest. We will discussing about its details, perks, and rules. In the next slides, I'm quickly going to read out these. So, Hacktoberfest is a celebration open to everyone in our global community. Second one being, this is very important point this year that they have kept, pull requests can be made in participating GitHub repositories classified with the Hacktoberfest topic only. So this point you need to understand this year that Hacktoberfest topic needs to be there in your project or repository is what we say. Repository is basically a project where you keep all of your stuff, right? We will be discussing about these terminologies as well in when I talk about GitHub, right? This year, the first 70,000 participants who successfully complete the challenge will be eligible to receive the goodies. And I will also show you the goodies that we received last year, the perks that we received last year. And to earn your Hacktoberfest tea, you must register and make 4 valid PRs, which will be reflected under your profile section. So first you need to register it at, and thereafter you can start making your contributions to GitHub, right? I guess it moved a little ahead, right? So moving forward, this was the global stats that we received for last year, Hacktoberfest 2019, and around 62,000 people contributed to this challenge competitions. Completions were there, and around 5 lakh pull requests were opened in just a span of 1 month, right? And these were the GitHub participating repository. Also, it made some uh, it gave rise to spam as well. So they have taken steps this year to reduce spam and stuff this year. And also what my motivation was, I also started developing or contributing to open source from Hacktoberfest 2019. So I got to know more about GitHub because as our super senior had also had a session on this, so he was quite good in explaining the event in a quite good manner, and it got me started. I started developing projects. Anything I developed, it was open sourced. Basically what open source gave me is a platform where I can collaborate, I can contribute, right, together in a team. And majorly my projects that are on GitHub, you will see they are quite like, if even if we are working in a team of two, it helps a lot, right? You have a certain platform where you can work. Suppose you are working on a website, right? So the major parts into the front end and the back end. So front end can be uh, built by someone or a team of some individuals, right? And the backend can be left. So it provides a complete platform where you can set up things. And the perks of the last year, these were the perks that we in the month of January. So moving forward to the GitHub community. Uh, but before we move to the GitHub community, let me ask you a question. Have you used GitHub before for collaboration or contribution? Let's give you, and let's see what the result is. So the question is, how have guys? So majorly it's a yes, and some people don't remember. Yeah, so around 60% of our participants have worked on GitHub or have stuff from that. So moving forward to what is GitHub. So GitHub is an American and multinational corporation that provides hosting for software development and version control using Git. It offers distributed version control, and source code management functionality of Git, plus its own features, helping further in open source development. And one more thing that I want to add here is that I missed out maybe was that Git itself was an open source project, and you can have was it the wrong term? Git is itself an open source project started by Linus Torvalds. Most of you have heard about it, I guess, the inventor of Linux, right? So Git itself was developed by him in an open source development environment, right? So that is a quite good thing that from Git we have GitHub, right? We had GitHub around in 2005. Git was developed, and in 2008 we had uh, GitHub at our end. So for further contribution and as well. So what GitHub provides us is basically a web interface for your own stuff, right? And you can use it to store your own document over GitHub and create a project and store it over there. So this was about what is GitHub. The big community that I was talking about, the numbers are in front of you. So we have around 40 million people who are on GitHub. These are the facts of 2019. This might have increased by now. So 40 million is quite a good number, right? So these contributors are there to help you out there all the time, and you won't face any difficulty while even while starting with anything or any project like that, right? So these are the numbers of the Git hosted repositories, around 6 million Git hosted repository. Look forward for your domain that we talked about. You can look forward about your field, right? Suppose you are interested in content writing, you can look for the that stuff over there and you will get it. Right now comes the question, why to use GitHub? First of all, as I discussed about the ease of use, everyone might have seen that change that came from around that earlier we had MS-DOS, which was totally something kind of a command line interface, right? And then came Windows, which provided its a graphical user interface, right? And its ease of use was quite a good thing for Windows, right? So the people shifted from MS-DOS to Windows due to this, and in a quite a good number, right? So same is the case with GitHub. With Git, we have a command line interface. With GitHub, it provides us a web interface where it's just 2 or 3 clicks away to start with a project, right? Or to contribute to a project. You are just 2 or 3 clicks away to contribute to it. Of course, it's your own code how long it goes, but the basic thing is with Git GitHub, you don't have to enter those commands or you don't have to look for those commands. Now is the acceptable worldwide part. Of course, it's totally industry acceptable worldwide, and I hope most of you might be knowing that in 2019, GitHub was acquired by Microsoft. So that is quite a good thing, and even if someone else we need to share that we did this stuff, or we need to share our projects, or because in the industry they don't have time to check whole of your stuff that you did in your time span of engineering or any other field you are in. So at GitHub you can showcase your projects, you can host your websites, you static websites and portfolios. You can develop things over there which are acceptable in the industry as well, right? So that is uh, why we should use GitHub. And easy collaboration, as I told you. So beginning from very small, like while making even a presentation, small presentation, you can use GitHub, right? While making a presentation in HTML file, you can use GitHub, and it's quite an easy process. And I think my uh, co-partners who developed these presentations who are here as well, so it is quite an easy part that GitHub provides for easy collaboration, issue and bug tracking. This is the feature that you will experience when you are working with some packages and stuff like that. It has its own bots that look for these bugs and or the dependencies if they're deprecated, and it lets you know about that stuff. And the big community, of course, is that is ready to help you out in any scenario you are facing. Even if you are starting with the project, you will get stuck at some point or the other. It's not that you are going to complete the project in one go. So you can look for your difficulties at that platform, GitHub, and it provides almost what you need to start with the project, right? Even if you don't need to start with, you have stuff already present there, so you can clone it to your system and you can enhance it as well, right? So these were the things why we used to GitHub, and these are the communities that emerged from GitHub. And I think most of you might be knowing about these. So first one being the freecodecamp.org. This is an educational platform where you can learn stuff about computer engineering and the domains of computer engineering, and it's totally free. You can go for it, and it was developed over GitHub. You need to main point here is that. Second one being the OpenGNS Foundation. Third one being the DuckDuckGo. If you have used Tor browser, you might have used this uh, search engine, DuckDuckGo. It's a search engine, and you might have used it because yeah, the before sorry, after the there were certain things that were banned. These things came up and their use quite increased, right? Because they are used for dark web. They are used for, as they don't track your activities, what you are doing. So I think you are getting my point, what I'm trying to say, right? So another one is nut storybooks. So then we have cocoa pods. Then we discussed about the Kubernetes, and Kubernetes itself was developed over a decade and a half. So you can check out their codes as well. Homebrew is the last but not the least. Mm. Then moving forward to getting contributing to uh, GitHub. So first, if I can annotate, wait, just wait a second. Annotations. Yes, I want to. I want you to pay your attention at this portion of GitHub. This is the things. These are the things that we do if we have our own project, right? Suppose you forget about this part, right? This is for open source, that the projects that we already have, right? We will be discussing about in around next 2 minutes. And suppose you have your own project, you set up your GitHub account, you have created your own project repository. Is basically your project folder where you keep your stuff, right? So you have that repository, then you clone it to your system. It's a quite simple process. You clone it to your system, you update those files over here in your editor or editing mode, anything you like to. You commit those changes and you push it back to your original. Pushing is basically changing something that is in your access, right? And this is your own repository, so you can make changes to it. And by doing this, this will make a change to your own repository by following this own structure. But this is the case when you have your own setup, right? You have your own open source project or stuff, or even if you get started with it, you this is the thing that you need to do. If it's your own project or someone else's, we will talk about someone else's one. So this whole is the portion where you see, suppose this is my repository, someone open source repository available to you. Forking is basically copying of the stuff, copying of original repository to yours own, and then the same continues. You clone it, you update those files, you commit the changes to the made to those files, your file got updated, then you push it back to your, this is now your project, right? Your repository. You haven't made any changes to the pull request to the original one, to the original project that you are having over here, right? So to make the change that you did at your end to reflect at the organization's end, you need to make a pull request. So pull request is basically changing or telling the actual maintainer of the open source repository that I have done this stuff, and I want to update your present repository, and I have made this enhancement. So that is why we have pull request, an additional step over here about GitHub, and this particular portion is for your own project. And this was about when you want to contribute to open source. So this that was all from my side. We discussed about what is open source. We discussed why we should contribute to open source, why what are the benefits of contributing to open source. We discussed about Hacktoberfest, of course, why we are here, and of course the GitHub community as a whole, how the communities as have emerged from GitHub as well, and how the actual working of GitHub works. Of course, the next comes is the practical part that Uday will take you forward, and I give you. So let's take a break of around 10 minutes or 7 to 8 minutes. Meanwhile, Uday will set up his system and all that stuff, and you can have some water and you can go around moving, and we will be back in around 7 to 8 minutes, right? So that सुन रहे
So सब अपना GitHub का अपना setup कर लो. So we'll be back in 6 minutes.
yes, yes, break ले लो or have some water and fruits if you wish to, and we will be having the practical session next for around the next 1 hour, right? Or 30 to 40 minutes, then we will be having the showcase, right? So have a rest and we will be back. And also it would be great if you go to github.com and you already set up your account. It's just 2 or 3 steps you need to complete, and it would be great for Uday to take the session forward if you are already done with the uh, registration or the login part, right? So I hope you can go to github.com and do the registration part or the login part. Then he will of course let you know about the Hacktoberfest and all the contribution stuff. I think uh, Uday, you can uh, start sharing your screen and begin with your part. Yeah, so Uday is here. Over to you, Uday. Yes. Mhm. Yes. Yes.
So, in basic questions of public right, suppose this is like a data structures that are there certainly are the kind as a
Hmm. Yes.
young would be present. So, this is like you can also or to find technology that being HIV. So, after that is given that or secondly, skills improvement. Skills improvement, getting to know
Hmm. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Security and bugs. Yes. Hmm. Yes. Hmm. Yes. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Contribution promote. Hmm. Fine. Hmm. 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 प्रमोट कर रहे. हाँ.
Yeah. So final look, we have to in that way change the
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I want कि आप सब इस track होके जाएं and आप अपनी कोई request करें. I'll give you like 5 minutes. या आपने मेरे नाम के नीचे अपना नाम ऐड कर देना है. Right?
उदय लिंक शेयर कर दो आई गेस अपने रिपोजिटरी को. Great. Uday, you can check for Rahul's pull request. He's saying. Second last. They can we say that conflict arises that uh, if we like हमने कोई चेंज करा उससे पहले ही किसी ने कोई और चेंज कर दिया था और हमने अपने सिस्टम में वो चेंज नहीं करा हाँ यस बिल्कुल हाँ 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 अच्छा हम्म यस यस हम्म हम्म you can use Uday, you can make changes to my repository. Uday, you can make changes to my repository if you wish to. Okay, okay, no issues, no issues.
Okay, so see, this year has four plans. So this is not actually direct program. We have a company that is most of them, like CCET, maybe from here, demo. So in that case, there is so many requirements which you are not actually aligned with your
Yes, you can. You can share, do the changes here. Yes, yes, I have got the request and I have merged it. So here I have merged Uday's comment, right? I have tried to pull request. Okay, correct. Hmm.
that's better than the Uday.
Hmm.
उसके बाद एक 7 day का कूल डाउन पीरियड था, लाइक लास्ट 3 को साथ लेने के बाद होता है, उसके बाद आप अच्छे लगते हैं और इस वक्त आप मानी जाएगी
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, we can discuss those in the last minutes. Showcase and discussion time. Mhm. Sure, sure.
even if you are open source, like some people are like using Manhattan, right now, right? The thing is, it's up to you. If you are confident about that, however, the GitHub authority, this is something that goes to somewhere. Paribas, I'm
Yes, or if anyone wants to showcase his or her contribution made to open source, we are open to hear that. Anyone? Mm, right. Mm. We will look for the next 1 minute for any questions or queries, and then we will be summarizing the event as a whole. I think we are done with the questions and no one is having any doubt. So let me quickly summarize what we did today. We learned about open source, how to contribute to open source, why open source contribution is important. We made pull request. We had a practical session which they did, and thanks to Uday for that. And also we will be accepting the pull request that you make for the Hacktoberfest, and hopefully you will be completing the Hacktoberfest challenge before October end, right? So that was all about today's event. And Uday, can you stop sharing? I want to share something. Uh, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So I you can go to wait a second. You take on. I'm actually busy in this. You take on the question. And also for beginners. Now that no, not about goodies, but a boost about the how to get started with GitHub and all that stuff. Ah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Hmm. बिल्कुल. Yes. Hmm. 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 Is very important. Yes, you can contact us at any of the social media handles given in front of your screen, and don't forget to if you have taken any photographs or for today's event or anything, you don't forget to use the hashtag Hacktoberfest and MLH localhost. and tag these social media handles. And before concluding everything, response. Of course, we have your responses for the slides as well, but for an overall event, Uday's part as well as mine, we want to receive your feedback. A negative feedback too.